کنفرانس در سنای بلژیک با حضور رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت 3 دسامبر 2013 12 آذر 92. فراخوان به دولت بلژیک و اتحادیه اروپا، وادار کردن دولت عراق به آزادی 7 گروگان اشرفی و تضمین حفاظت بین المللی برای لیبرتی. سناتور در کلاوس، عضو هیئت رئیسه سنای بلژیک. سناتور نل لاینن، رئیس کمیسیون زنان سنای بلژیک. جرالد کیندرمانس، عضو هیئت رئیسه پارلمان بلژیک. الس دمول، نماینده پارلمان بلژیک. پیر گالاند، رئیس دفتر اروپایی سازمان جهانی علیه شکنجه. پروفسور اریک داوید، رئیس دپارتمان حقوق بین الملل در دانشگاه آزاد بروکسل. طاهر بومدرا، مسئول پرونده اشرف در سازمان ملل. و پاولو کازاکا، نماینده پیشین پارلمان اروپا.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much for coming to our meeting today, which is organized by the Belgian Committee of Parliamentarians and Majors for a Democratic Iran. And we are very happy that Mrs. Mariam Najafi, the President of the Iranian Resistance, has accepted our invitation to come and to explain to Belgian members of Parliament about the situation in Iran. We also have some other distinguished guests who will speak briefly today. But before allowing Mrs. Najafi to speak, I want to say a few words. We have campaigned against violation of human rights in Iran under the mullahs. We were very active here in Belgium, but all over the world, to remove the name of the main opposition, PNOI, from the EU blacklist. The worldwide legal and political campaign, which was under the leadership of Mrs. Najafi in many parliaments and international courts, was finally successful. Justice was done because the EU finally removed the name of the PNOI from its blacklist in 2009, and the United States also followed Europe in September 2012. We congratulate Mrs. Najafi and her movement for this victory. But this blacklisting wasted their time, energy, and also money. As we know, the PNOI were put in the blacklist because of the appeasement policies of the West towards the mullahs during Qatar, who many in the West thought is a moderate. Very similar to today, that some people are thinking that the new President Rouhani is a moderate mullah. These people seem to forget that over 360 executed a president. We have also been focused on the situation of 3,000 Iranian refugees in Iraq, who were in Camp Ashraf before, and have now been moved to Camp Liberty, near Baghdad. Many members of Parliament and also over 300 mayors from all over Belgium have signed statements in their support. We have been very worried about their humanitarian situation. On the 1st September, over 3 months ago, Camp Ashraf was attacked by armed forces. They killed 52 and saved of these defenseless refugees. We insist very strongly that the Iraqi authorities conduct a thorough and impartial investigation into latest violence at Camp Ashraf. Amnesty International has confirmed that 7 Iranian exiles are abducted on the 1st September and are now to be held by the Iraqi security forces in Baghdad. They are at risk of torture and other ill treatment and could be forcibly returned to Iran. Meanwhile, there are hundreds of Iranians who have been on hunger strike for 93 days. That's unbelievable. 93 days in hunger strike. With the demand to release the 7 innocent hostages and also to give protection for the 3,000 refugees in Camp Liberty who are protected persons under the 3rd Geneva Convention. We are very worried about them. I deplore that the international community gives barely attention to resolve the security of the residents in Camp Liberty and says nothing to end the suffering of the 7 hostages. Therefore, we urge our government in Belgium and also we call on the EU, especially President Van Rompuy, my friend and our friend, and Baroness Ashton to ask the Iraqi government to release the 7 refugees. I should conclude now by giving the floor to our keynote speaker, Mrs. Najabi. I'm very happy that she has managed to come to Brussels today.
Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs les parlementaires, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers amis, je suis heureuse de me retrouver à la Maison de la démocratie au Parlement de Belgique. Je suis venue demander l'aide du peuple belge et de ses élus pour soutenir le peuple iranien et sa résistance en faveur de la démocratie et des droits de l'homme en Iran. En vérité, nous affrontons un ennemi commun, la dictature religieuse en Iran. Ce régime veut défier le monde avec le programme de fabrication d'une arme nucléaire. Ce régime est en train de détruire le Moyen-Orient par la guerre et le terrorisme. Il est en guerre avec le peuple iranien par ses violations sauvages des droits de l'homme, ses exécutions quotidiennes, ses milliers d'arrestations arbitraires et l'absence de toutes les libertés, y compris le blocage total d'Internet. C'est une image ici, 3 pendaisons par jour. Je voudrais maintenant aborder l'accord nucléaire de Genève. Pour analyser cet accord, il faut rappeler quelques points. D'abord, le régime des mollahs est confronté au mécontentement grave et actif de la société iranienne. Deuxièmement, les mollahs cherchent à se doter de la bombe pour éviter le renversement de leur régime. Troisièmement, il faut rappeler qu'ils sont des maîtres du mensonge et qu'ils ne respectent aucun engagement. Ces 11 dernières années, grâce aux efforts de ses sympathisants en Iran, la résistance iranienne a révélé plusieurs sites du régime, mais les mollahs possèdent encore d'autres sites clandestins. En vérité, ce ne sont pas les mollahs qui ont voulu accepter certaines demandes de la communauté internationale. C'est la pression des sanctions et des protestations populaires qui ont poussé le régime à accepter cet accord. Nous applaudissons ce recul des mollahs, du régime des mollahs. Cependant, nous soulignons qu'aucun accord n'est acceptable sans la destruction complète du programme nucléaire des mollahs. L'engagement des mollahs dans cet accord est réversible. Ils ont toujours en main la clé de la fabrication de la bombe atomique. C'est pourquoi, tant que l'enrichissement ne sera pas totalement arrêté, et tant que les mollahs n'auront pas accepté le protocole additionnel, et tant que les résolutions du Conseil de sécurité de l'ONU ne seront pas entièrement appliquées, le danger de la bombe atomique existera. En tant que résistance qui a tenu un rôle clé et très important dans les révélations du programme nucléaire de régime et en tant que son principal adversaire, nous insistons sur 3 points. Premièrement, obliger les mollahs à accepter les inspections inopinées. Deuxièmement, démanteler complètement les sites nucléaires en oxydant toutes ces réserves d'uranium. Et troisièmement, éviter toute réduction des sanctions internationales tant que ce régime n'accepte pas les résolutions de l'ONU. Mesdames et messieurs, chers amis, je voudrais maintenant attirer votre attention sur les attaques et les pressions intenses de la dictature religieuse sur les habitants au camp Liberty, dans le but d'anéantir le mouvement de la résistance. Le régime iranien a augmenté la répression pour dissimuler sa fragilité à l'intérieur du pays. Il essaie surtout d'éliminer son opposition et principale alternative. Depuis 2009 et le transfert de la protection du camp d'Ashraf par les Américains au gouvernement irakien, ce dernier n'a pas cessé d'attaquer les membres de l'OMPI à la demande du régime des mollahs. Ces attaques ont fait 112 morts, 1200 blessés, 15 autres sont morts dans de terribles souffrances à cause du blocus médical. Le 1er septembre, les forces du gouvernement irakien ont lancé une attaque sur Ashraf. Massacrant 52 membres de la résistance iranienne, ils ont pris en otage 6 femmes et un homme. C'est pourquoi des centaines de membres et de sympathisants de la résistance ont lancé une grève de la faim au camp Liberty et dans plusieurs pays du monde. C'est pourquoi je tiens à vous demander d'agir pour rétablir les droits et la liberté des membres de la résistance au camp Liberty. Je demande au gouvernement belge d'être à l'avant-garde d'une initiative au niveau de l'Union européenne afin de forcer le gouvernement irakien à libérer cet otage et à garantir la sécurité du camp Liberty. La solidarité entre les pays européens et la résistance iranienne est plus que jamais nécessaire. La solidarité avec une résistance qui aspire à une république basée sur la séparation de religion et de l'État, l'égalité entre les femmes et les hommes, l'abolition de la peine de mort et un Iran non nucléaire. Oui, la résistance iranienne est une antithèse et alternative devant une dictature religieuse basée sur misogynie et exportation de terrorisme et fondamentalisme au Moyen-Orient et partout dans le monde. Maintenant, le régime des mollahs est une menace pour la paix et la sécurité pour tout le monde. Et c'est pourquoi agir est une activité très forte. C'est nécessaire pour éviter de nouvelles catastrophes humanitaires au camp Liberty et aussi pour garantir la paix et la sécurité dans le monde entier. Je vous remercie.
Monsieur le Président, Madame la Présidente, c'est un plaisir d'abord de vous rencontrer, de vous apporter le salut de mon organisation, Mesdames et Messieurs les parlementaires. En tant qu'ancien parlementaire et président de l'Organisation mondiale contre la torture et aussi président de la laïcité, je voulais vous dire, tout d'abord, renouveler mon engagement et ma solidarité avec le combat que vous menez. Je pense qu'il est important aujourd'hui. Nous sommes dans un monde dans lequel, à certains moments, on négocie et parfois on oublie les victimes au nom de certaines priorités qu'on croit politiques. Il nous appartient de rappeler quels sont les fondements du vivre ensemble, de la capacité qu'on a de vivre dans un monde dans lequel les droits de l'homme sont les fondamentaux, dans lequel le droit international doit régir l'ensemble de nos rapports. Et donc, soyez assurés que, au nom de mon organisation, je suis extrêmement sensible au travail que vous faites. Je suis extrêmement sensible aussi à cet appel que vous avez porté depuis tant d'années. Je suis sensible aussi au fait que dans les camps d'Ashraf, des gens sont aujourd'hui martyrisés et qu'il y a ce problème grave aujourd'hui de savoir quel est le sort réservé à ceux qui ont été carrément kidnappés, si pas assassinés. Et donc, je tiens à vous dire, et je pense, je suis tout prêt à soutenir le comité belge, en tant qu'ancien parlementaire, bien entendu, je suis tout prêt à poursuivre avec vous ce travail, ici en Belgique, au niveau de l'Europe, et de faire entendre la voix de ceux qui sont les militants des causes les plus fondamentales des droits des peuples à disposer d'eux-mêmes, parce qu'il s'agit bien de ça, qui repose sur des résolutions fondamentales des Nations Unies, dont notamment la 1514 sur le droit à l'autodétermination. Et donc, en ce sens, soyez assurés, Madame la Présidente, que je maintiendrai cet appui. Et en ce sens, je voulais être présent pour vous apporter ce témoignage, l'apporter aussi à mes collègues qui, je trouve, sont particulièrement courageux parce qu'il est parfois difficile de mener des combats qui paraissent être à contre-courant alors qu'ils sont ceux de l'histoire. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Merci.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam President, dear colleagues, I should also say that we are very happy that Mrs. Rajavi is here with us, and we would like to express our solidarity with her and the PMOI members in Camp Liberty who had suffered so much in these years. I would also like to thank my dear colleague Dirk Klaas for organizing this important meeting today. The world media has paid enormous attention to the new nuclear deal with Iran, but the deterring of human rights situation in Iran seems to have been totally ignored. By looking at Rouhani's record in the first 150 days in office, things will become more clear. More than 300 executions. This is almost the double rate of executions during Ahmadinejad. So there is no doubt that we are not facing a moderate president in Iran. He is only there to save the regime and not the people. In my view, if the 3+3 talks had acted more decisively in Geneva, we would have been able to put an end to Iran's dangerous nuclear program, which of course is aimed at obtaining nuclear weapons. Therefore, my concern is that if the Western leaders do not hold a firm position towards Iran in the months ahead, they will be sending a green light to Rouhani to continue to increase the number of executions. I also want to stress that what happened in Ashraf on September 1st is absolutely a crime against humanity. There was absolutely no reason whatsoever that the Iraqi government could have justified these brutal murders, as we have seen on the pictures. These people were staying in Ashraf under a four-party agreement between them, Iraq, UN and US. They were simply killed for their political opinions because they opposed the mullah's rule in Iran. It is astonishing that not a single person has been brought to justice for such an obvious crime that was committed in broad daylight under the nose of the UN and the US. Since Iraqi forces took over the security of Ashraf in 2009, there have been 5 separate attacks on these innocent refugees. Over 100 people have been killed and more than 1,000 injured. But not a single person has been arrested, while pictures, photos, videos, clips, and the identity of the attackers have been made public by the Iranian resistance. It is important that we do not continue to be indifferent to all this, while lives of more people can be lost as a result of 93 days of hunger strike. Our government and EU must force Iraq to release the 7 hostages abducted by Iraqi forces during the 1st September massacre. The massacre must be independently investigated by an international body, and the protection of Camp Liberty must be guaranteed by UN forces. There is no time for further delay. We need immediate action. I thank you.
Thank you. I would like to welcome all my dearest friends to be here today, and especially warm welcome to my friend Mrs. Rajavi. Thank you for coming to the Belgian Parliament and for being with us today. I've been at several meetings and I have supported many parliamentary actions for this cause. The nuclear discussions are almost daily a headline, while other problems are touched upon much less. The challenges the Iranian society faces are plenty, and the respect for basic human rights is at the core of these. As it has been stated by international organizations, during 2012, Iran officially acknowledged 314 executions. But now, in 2013, I am told at least 367 executions have taken place in less than 6 months, only since Rouhani came to office in June 2013. In dealing with this regime, we cannot separate the two issues of nuclear and human rights. What is happening to the people in Ashraf and now in Liberty? It is a serious humanitarian issue that worries me a lot. There is more and more evidence that the Iraqi government, who has become increasingly close to the neighboring regime of Iran, commits serious crimes against these people, going as far as killing them. Amnesty International has confirmed that the 7 hostages abducted during massacre of the 1st of September are in the hands of Iraqi security forces. They are at risk of torture and other ill treatment and could be forcibly returned to Iran, says Amnesty International in its statement. Yet we don't see enough statements or actions to address this issue. I think we can all safely agree that the lack of information is very worrying, to say the least. All countries have the moral duty not to let these injustices repeat. It's during meetings like these that the rights of these people can be stressed enough. The world should strengthen its resolve to find a concrete solution for the victims of these human rights violations. I think these meetings, Mrs. Rajavi, are an important first step, but this should not be the end of the matter. We have passed enough resolutions and made too many statements about this matter. Let us now act today while we can, before we lose more precious lives in these attacks. I wish you lots of courage. Thank you very much.
What happened in Ashraf, and as it was said, it's a crime against humanity, which is provided for in Article 7 of the statute of the ICC. Even if Iraq is not a state party to the ICC statute, however, it could be quite possible for the ICC to have jurisdiction on this crime if the case was brought, if the situation was brought to the court by the Security Council. It's quite possible. The Security Council did that already for Sudan, Darfur in 2005. They did the same for Libya in 2011. It could be quite possible that the same happens with Iraq. And I think I'm really referring to the distinguished senators who are in this room to urge the government to ask that the question be brought to the agenda of the Security Council. That the case, that this terrible situation be brought to the ICC through a referral by the Security Council on the basis of Article 13, little b, of the ICC statute. It's quite legally, it's quite possible. There is only a problem, of course, of of political will of the member states of the Security Council. But I think that it's really necessary to show the world in general and Iraq in particular the move and the emotion of everybody before these terrible pictures.
Tout ce que je voudrais dire, c'est que moi aussi, je m'associe bien sûr aux remerciements qui vous sont adressés à vous les sénateurs de bien vouloir prendre cette cause en charge, parce que vous avez, en tant que représentant du peuple, une responsabilité particulière pour le respect des règles les plus fondamentales du droit international, et ceci est une occasion certainement d'essayer de pousser le respect. Encore une fois, je me permets d'insister sur le fait que je crois qu'il faudrait vraiment que cette affaire soit soumise à la Cour pénale internationale, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, mais pour cela il faudrait évidemment en saisir le Conseil de sécurité, et peut-être faudrait-il qu'une action commune soit faite au niveau de l'Union européenne, comme cela a déjà d'ailleurs été dit par certains d'entre vous. Mais dans le cadre de l'Union européenne, ce qu'on a vu est tellement abominable qu'on ne peut que chercher une réaction adéquate, et à mon avis la seule réaction possible est de soumettre cette affaire à la Cour pénale internationale. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam the President, honorable senators and MPs, I was the chief of Human Rights Office of UNAMI from 2009. 2009 is the year the Americans handed over the Camp Ashraf to the Iraqi government. And on the very same day, the Iraqi government took control of Camp Ashraf. They made a declaration, and it's on record. They said that they will make their life unbearable to push them out of Iraq. These people were sick, and they were boycotted by the Iraqi system. An embargo was imposed. People were dying of cancer, and they could have been saved. The Iraqis were imposing on them an embargo and refusing them access to medical services. I was in charge of this file, and I was begging the Iraqi authorities on a daily basis to give us access. They refused. UNAMI will say, again, the due process of law is taking place. When we came to move the residents of Ashraf to liberty, let me tell you that it was a decision taken basically by the ambassador, the Iranian ambassador in Baghdad, and implemented by the Prime Minister al-Maliki, helped and assisted by UNAMI, including my office. So we were there to close Camp Ashraf and help and assist the government of Iraq to implement its declared policy to make their life unbearable. Now, very quickly, let me tell you that if there is anybody who knows Ashraf, it's me. I visited Ashraf on a daily basis, and I always hovered by helicopter over the camp. So I know all exits and entrances to the camp. I know the location of the Iraqi army. It's impossible for anybody to penetrate the camp without the active participation of the Iraqi security forces. It's just impossible. I find it an insult to the intelligence of the international community for the Iraqi government to say they don't know what happened. And regarding the abducted people, here again, it's not the first time. I witnessed previously the abduction of the 36 in 2011, and it was me who followed them up in the green zone in Baghdad. It was me who found them. It happened that they were my neighbors near the United Nations compound in Baghdad, and I said to them, I'll visit you every day. When I went next day to visit them, they were gone. So you see the kind of trend and the pattern of conduct of the government of Iraq. They have this battalion of the army commanded directly by the commander-in-chief, Prime Minister al-Maliki. This battalion does not report to the Ministry of Defense. It reports directly to the Prime Minister. They are the ones abducting people, and they are the ones who are making people disappear, keeping them incommunicado. And I could tell you with a degree of certainty where they are right now. The 7 are in the green zone. And it takes for UNAMI few minutes to reach them if the political will was there. So it's really up to you actually in this meeting to put pressure and to demand that UNAMI should move and find these people. And I could tell you, and I'm responsible about what I'm saying, if they need help, I will help them. I will tell them where to go, because they are there. And it's the Prime Minister's office who is in charge. Nobody else. The Minister of Interior, the Minister of Defense, the Ministry of Justice are not involved. It's the Prime Minister's office. So if we need to put pressure, it's on that office. They must free these people. And I could tell you that the United Nations, the diplomatic missions in Baghdad, all of them, including the United States of America, they all know where the abducted people are. It's a question of marchandage. They have a deal to make with the Iranian government and the Prime Minister al-Maliki. They are making deals. But if they want to free these people, they will. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Mrs. Rajavi, dear colleagues, my very dear Iranian friends. I'm very happy that once again we can welcome the President, Mrs. Rajavi, here in our Parliament today. In a world where everybody seems to be afraid of the mullahs and their aggressions both inside the countries and abroad, you, Mrs. Rajavi, you are leading a movement that stands for real freedom, democracy and equality in Iran. And as I said 2 months ago at a meeting in Geneva, I really I stand in awe for the Iranian women, and I admire you. You embody and you symbolize the courage and the hope of millions of Iranian men and women. I also wish to thank my colleague and Senator Dirk Klaas for being so active on all these issues for all these years. And what happened in Ashraf, we saw the pictures here again on September 1st, was truly a crime against humanity. And there are plenty of signs that the attack was carried out by Iraqi forces. For instance, and it's just one instance, the attackers had to pass through numerous checkpoints controlled by the Iraqi army to reach the camp and its residents. So the questions we ask ourselves today are, firstly, why 3 months after this attack no results have been published of a truly independent investigation into this crime? And secondly, why has nobody been arrested and brought to justice for committing this horrible crime? A third question we can ask, why has the Iraqi government not been held accountable? Finally, and maybe most importantly, why has there been no action taken by the UN, the US government and the EU to bring about the release of the 7 hostages? Although Amnesty International and the UNHCR have announced recently that the hostages are being held in Iraq. Because of this unfair silence and inaction, people have been on hunger strike for more than 3 months. I have met several of them. I was in Geneva, and they were still in full force. They have been starving to make these international authorities and other states, particularly the US government, we must raise our voice and ask our government to seriously raise the matter with the UN and the US government and with the EU. We must tell them we're not happy with their silence and urge them to act immediately to release the hostages. I finally use this opportunity to express my solidarity once again with all the brave men and women, 3,000 people of the PMOI who are still left in Camp Liberty. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente Mariam Rajab et Monsieur le Sénateur Dirk Kleijs, cher ami, Monsieur et Madame les parlementaires, les sénateurs, les maires, mon cher ami, je crois que ce qui est le plus frappant qu'on vient de voir, c'est que pour que ce témoignage soit disponible pour l'humanité, il y a eu des gens qui ont sacrifié leur vie, ont filmé jusqu'à la fin, jusqu'au moment où ils étaient assassinés, nous ont laissé ce témoignage qui est vraiment d'une clarté qu'on n'a jamais vue. C'est absolument impossible à quoi que ce soit que veuille avoir un minimum de crédibilité de nier les faits. Les faits, c'est qu'il y a un Premier ministre qui a sous ses ordres des escadrons de la mort qui assassinent à leur vouloir, pour sa décision, ceux qu'ils veulent assassiner. Et ça, c'est quelque chose de vraiment effroyable qu'en 2013, comme c'était le cas, comme tout le monde le sait, aux années 30, qu'il y ait des gens dans le monde civilisé qui croient que jamais c'est possible d'avoir une paix basée sur ça. C'est invraisemblable. Comment l'aveuglement peut aller si loin? Parce que c'est si évident, si clair par l'histoire, par la logique, par la raison, que le moment où on autorise le crime en masse, l'assassinat politique en masse, on dit aux auteurs de ces crimes que la voie est ouverte pour continuer. Et ça, c'est un crime de complicité avec lequel on ne peut jamais, jamais se taire. Et je suis vraiment très heureux de voir que vous, les représentants belges, vous êtes ici, vous continuez à tenir le drapeau de la vérité, le drapeau de l'humanité dans vos mains, et je vous suis énormément reconnaissant. Je crois qu'on vous doit beaucoup, et je peux seulement vous dire, continuez, n'arrêtez jamais. Ce combat, c'est un combat d'Iraniens, d'Irakiens, de Belges, de Portugais comme moi-même, de n'importe qui, de toute l'humanité. On ne doit jamais nous arrêter. Merci beaucoup pour tout ce que vous faites. Merci beaucoup pour cette invitation.